Hello and welcome to another episode of STiXX Editorials. You know the play on words on STiXX Edits. If you watched episode 1 of Beef, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing. I hope you actually watched the full production itself because it's really good. And I'm not just saying that because I A, edited it, and 2, I'm an actor in it. But it is a really well done production by first timers, Jabari and Tishawn. Shout out to them. So today we're on episode 2, and this is Mosquito, which was the second production by the duo, but this one was directed by Tishawn and Vanessa Adams, who you saw in Beef. She returns in, I guess, the same character, different role, but this one was a little interesting in terms of what the entire concept is, because it was inspired by a subgenre of film that I didn't know called mumblecore. And Jabari had to explain that one to me because I was just like, what is that even? And so then what he did was he sent me some references, and there's an article on Vulture that has a bunch of mumblecore films. There are a bunch of trailers up there, and the one specifically that he told me about was Medicine for Melancholy. How that relates to Mosquito is just like, okay, it's just a conversation between two friends, but mostly one person just talking the entire time. So my assumption was that, okay, there's just going to be a lot of jump cuts and stuff like that. But au contraire, once we were getting to the process of the edit and stuff like that, it's just like, no, it's really just going to be singular on Vanessa. She's just going to be talking and just really long shots and keeping some of the ums and ahs and stuff in there, which is outside of my comfort zone. Cause I'm just like, why would anyone want to watch something that sounds so dysfunctional? And how does that make it kind of like a film? It's just like, okay, that's essentially a vlog at this point. It's like story time on YouTube. So this was another challenge that I kind of had to process around. And so it wasn't a long shoot. And there wasn't a lot of footage. They filmed in 2 scenes. So scene 1, you see down here, is just them just filming, Vanessa getting the different takes and whatnot. There wasn't a lot of coverage in terms of B-roll outside of her hands and whatnot. So that was kind of difficult for me to really work with. And I guess the thing that comes with editing is that you're constantly improvising and you're constantly thinking on your feet. Just like, okay, if I don't have this, and they won't go back and shoot all this stuff because A, they can't, or 2, they won't. It's like, all right, what can we do to kind of get around it? And so my first instinct was, okay, let me just cut around with the wides and all that other stuff, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. So there's all the stuff. There's a conversation back here, and this is this was kind of the first pass that I had at it. So, as we can see here, we have, Vanessa talking and, just kind of jumping from, one angle to the other. I did a lot of push-ins just to establish that, things are different. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, all right, that's pretty much the vibe. And then as we, kind of get through it a little bit more, I cut to different angles. I'm just like, yeah, because I'm continuing with the story, but I'm changing the angles because that's essentially, that gives it pace and it gives it attitude, and that's where I had the one B-roll shot there. So in my opinion, I was like, all right, this feels like this is what it should be because there's not any music, there's not really sound effects behind it. So in order to kind of keep the people interested and engaged in the production, I'm like, okay, why don't we just go with this? And then basically they wanted to make it as minimalistic as possible, hence why you see they have your different cuts here. I still did the jumping back and forth, and at the same time as a first production for Tishawn, it's like, all right, there's a lot of things to be considered and whatnot, until we eventually got to the point where it's literally just Vanessa just telling the story and then subtle jump cuts here and there, not a lot of push-ins. But at the same time, they eventually got what they wanted out of it in terms of, how they wanted it presented. It's different from what I would personally cut because it's just okay, how is it different from a vlog? And what it's showing that, the actress herself can like, tell the story and like, giving the lines and whatnot. It's just like, all right, that's cool that you can like, have all these lines and stuff. But in terms of gauging interest from a visual standpoint, like, people's attention spans aren't that what they used to be. So it's just like, you got to keep the people engaged. So that's why this one was like, there was a lot of frustration on my end. Not because of any ego thing, because stylistically, it's just like, I was just like, well, this is boring. And it's like, I'm not even cutting anything. As you can see, like, just placing the stuff here and there, it's just like, it didn't require a lot of editing. So that's why I was just like, well, you can essentially do this on iMovie. You know what I mean? And not to diss or roast or anything, but just like, it didn't seem like it required that much skill level for me to kind of slap together. But the beauty of it was like, there are different takes where like, it's one take she said a line correct, and another take she didn't quite deliver it in the way that she wanted to. So there's that process of editing where you have to like, all right, you got to sift through the different takes, mesh them together, and essentially make it seem as though it was all one. In a lot of movies, TV shows, whatever you've watched, you could tell it's just like, all right, they obviously messed up somewhere, so they have to cover this up. Or you can audibly tell that it's a different take because of the voice inflection, the pitch, the tone. Like, there are a lot of key giveaways. Even the continuity, there's probably an error there where something visually is off from what you previously saw. I just keep everything on the same track. So if there is one particular scene that they shot, so everything in scene 1 I will put in 1, everything in scene 2 I will put in 2, and then kind of sync it together and then eliminate what I don't need. But obviously it came down to the fact that they were just using this one angle, and the only time that we really went to like a wide of any sort was here when we have the credit, the opening credit, and then at the back end when we just have, the end credits. So I was like, that is interesting. And like, Mark did a great job with the color once again, really accentuating the colors. And, it's hard to color black people. So that's the fact that, Vanessa looks as radiant as she does is dope. And another challenge is that there was supposed to be more ad-libs from Renelle's character as this went along, like kind of just like hyping her up and like, in the very Toronto manner. He's like, are you dumb? Nah, he didn't do that. Yo, what a waste, you dog. Like, are you serious? Yo, let me go clap this guy right now. That didn't come to be. So there are a lot of challenges that were thrown in here that like I really had to think of on the fly how to address. And obviously there's a lot of communication on my end and also with Jabari and Tashawn as to how they wanted this executed. And I think we all came to a common resolve as to what they wanted, because the purpose of Mumblecore is just like, look, everything these days can be shot on an iPhone, can be shot on a DSLR camera for low budget or no budget. You know what I'm saying? So that's why things are very minimalistic in its presentation. But I think that for the most part, for something very Toronto-centric, I think that it hits here more than it'll hit like kind of internationally, because it's just like, wait a minute, like this is like a story that one of my girls or one of my homeboys tells, and in its manner and her mannerisms, it's very entertaining. In terms of techniques, nothing really in terms of technique. Got the script, and well, not necessarily got the script, but I got the lines through the footage, cut them up. You have your different takes, and then through discussion with the director's like, all right, I like this take and this take and this take and this take, and then as an editor, you can go to those takes and watch them and be like, okay, I see what you like about this take, but I'm going to go with another take just because I personally think that this will play out better, because everything is different once you look at it in an edit suite, right? And that's why, as an editor, you have a lot of power in your position. Before it passes through the eyes of directors and producers and executive producers and other studio heads or whatever, you still have the creative decision to input a cut here or there, or not put it in for artistic reasons or whatever reasons that you may find that are suitable to making the production better. And it really is about that collaboration that will take something from your first cut to your last cut. So that being said, go watch Mosquito. Feel free to comment if there are things that you like, things that you don't like, other things that you kind of want me to present within the tutorials. I will do my absolute best to provide that. I know my first video was kind of long and kind of just like all over the place, but hopefully there was a takeaway from some of that.